Hello and welcome to Working with What You Got. I am so excited that you are joining me today. Our mission is to be able to help you to take the knots out of your mind. Too often we think about what we don't have, what we can't do, what we're not able to obtain. And too often our mind is tied up and we don't realize that you have more than you think you have. You have more talent, you have more time, you have more resources, you have more energy, you have more people on your side. You feel like you're alone. Oh, nobody understands. Yes, we do. So hopefully by the time you finish watching the show, maybe one knot, maybe a half a knot, maybe a little smidgen of a knot has come out of your mind and you realize that you can work with what you got. Well, we're going to start off and we're going to deal with breakfast, the most important meal of the day. You're thinking, okay, I got to go to work. I got to send the kids to school. I have nothing. I don't have no eggs. I don't have bagels. I don't have bread. I want to make a smoothie. I don't have any milk. I don't have any fruit. There you go again. You got too many knots. I can't, I won't. You don't know. It's over. Yes, you do. Guess what? We're going to make a smoothie today with oatmeal. You got that. You have oatmeal. Peanut butter. Everybody has peanut butter. And jelly. Oatmeal, peanut butter, and jelly. Peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. Peanut butter and jelly and oatmeal. And you can have a nutritious smoothie. Okay, so we're going to start. And we're going to do about a cup of oatmeal. I put it in this cup over here. And we're using organic quick oats. But if you have just regular steel cut oats and it's not organic, that's what you have, work with what you got. Here we go. We put that in our blender. We're going to use bottled water, regular bottled water. I really do believe in good quality water. That's just me. If you want to do the tap, baby. Do the tap water. If that's what you got, that's what you got. Okay, so you have that, and now you have peanut butter. Most of the time, we don't do peanut butter because I have a son that does have peanut allergies. We're a big sun butter fan. Sun butter is delicious. It's actually made out of sunflower seeds. It's just as delectable as peanut butter. It's a little looser in consistency, and it is a little bit more expensive, but it's full of protein, full of all the omegas. It's really good for you. But if all you have is Skippy, use your Skippy. So we're going to use Skippy. We do a big dollop of that peanut butter, put it in there. And then we got jelly. I like to use all fruit spread because it doesn't have all the sugar, it doesn't have the artificial flavorings, the preservatives. All fruit spread, you got your fruit, you got the pectin, which is just a thickening agent, maybe a preservative, and that's it. So we're using organic raspberry fruit spread. Let's use a smaller spoon. Boom. Put that in there. If you like it sweet, go ahead and do 2 dollops in there. Now, this is just my little ingredient. I love cinnamon. I'm a cinnamoner. Cinnamon can go in anything for me. So I put a little bit of cinnamon in there. Cinnamon is excellent for a lot of things. And plus, it makes everything taste good. So what did we use? We used oats. We used water. We used peanut butter. We used cinnamon. We're ready to go. Put your cover on tight. And pulse it. Maybe you guys take this time, put on your lipstick, go ahead and do your early morning prayer, focus, your music, walk on your treadmill, whatever you need. I don't know if you could have heard me, but I was saying during the time when you're doing the smoothie, you could still be getting ready for work, you're having your kids get their stuff together for school, whatever. So now here we go. Let's try it. Let's see how it tastes. And I'm going to ask one of the owners of Mad TV, the lovely Victoria, if she would sample it. But let me taste it before Victoria. What? What? Come on, girl. Come on. Come on. And I told Victoria not to gas me up. If she doesn't like it, she doesn't like it. All right, here you go. You'll be honest. It's good, right? Okay, there you go. Peanut butter and jelly, oatmeal, water, cinnamon, all fruit jelly. If it's not sweet enough for you, you can put maybe some more jelly. If you want it thicker, put more oats, maybe a little bit of honey. But there you go. We worked with what we got, and we got a smoothie. And we'll be right back with Barbara Allen from Prison Families Anonymous. She has an awesome story right after this break. We're back, and we are so delighted to have an awesome guest with us this afternoon. We have Barbara Allen here from Prison Families Anonymous. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring Miss Allen in, especially for our first show, is because with working with what you got, not only are we talking about what you have in your cupboard or what you might have in your bank account, we're talking about how do you handle what life throws you? How do you handle what life gives you? For instance, Miss Allen was faced with, here she was years ago, a successful, dedicated elementary school teacher. And now all of a sudden her life is interrupted because her husband becomes incarcerated for killing his father. What a major curveball to come into your world. But she has such a wonderful story of triumph where she was able to take that tragic situation and form an organization that's been around for 40 years, for 40 years, and helped so many families. Help me welcome Miss Barbara Allen from Prison Families Anonymous. Thank you so much for coming, Miss Allen.
Thank you so very much for having me and for that lovely introduction.
It's only the truth.
Thank
It's
you.
the truth.
Thank you.
So we just have a couple of questions. Tell me first some of the challenges that you faced, you know, at the age you were this, young mom, young wife, young teacher, and now all of a sudden you're faced with your husband being in jail.
There were so many issues. First of all, you're in shock. It's like a death. So you go through all the stages of grief that you would in a death. Um, you have a stigma that you have in very few other situations. You're very stigmatized. So you have a feeling of social, emotional, financial, all those stresses come into your life. And there was loneliness. You feel very much alone. You feel as though you're the only person in the world that this has happened to. It's the embarrassment of going out and facing your neighbors, going back to work. I had taught in Deer Park for maybe 7 years at this time. And I knew I had to go back and face my colleagues. There was a great deal of publicity. It was in the newspapers and on the radio. And how do you go and face people? You feel guilty. You feel as if you've done something. And I had 2 small children.
Wow.
That I had to not only raise, but I had to make sure that they understood what happened and that it doesn't affect the rest of their lives. So all this is going through your mind at a time like this, and you don't know where you're going to get the resources. You don't know at that time if you have it. You don't know if you'll survive. Initially, you feel as if this is it, the end of the world. I didn't think I could go back to a real life ever again.
So what was the moment that was pivotal for you when you said, okay, I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I have no resources. I feel like it is the end of the world. But what's the moment that caused you to realize there was a need and there was another chapter of your life that needed to unfold?
Well, first of all, I thought that for something like this to have happened, there had to be a reason. I don't think I thought it intellectually, but I think I felt that, why me, God? I had a great deal of support from my neighbors, some of my friends. I lost a lot of friends, of course, and I think it's a lot because people don't know what to say to you. They're uncomfortable, and so it's easier for them to kind of push you away. But I guess the pivotal point, I was going to the jail to visit my husband, and I felt the only time I really felt comfortable with people were the people in the visiting room with me, because at least I knew that we had this feeling of having, you're not alone, there are other people. And then one night I was looking through the TV guide, and I saw that there was going to be a TV show on many, many years ago. Most of you probably don't remember David Susskind, but he was the forerunner to Oprah. And the show was going to be with formerly incarcerated people trying to start a new organization to disseminate information about the criminal justice system. I wrote to them after I watched the show with trepidation because I really didn't want to know what's going on in the prisons. But I did write to them and say that I was doing my time on the outside, and if there was anything I could do to help them, I would. But I have 2 small children, and I teach full time, and I live out in suburbia. Well, they responded and invited me into a meeting with formerly incarcerated people, and that was really the pivotal point. That changed my life, because through that organization, I met other families going through what I was going through. If anyone would call them and ask about any kind of prison problem, if we're a family member, they'd say, well, call Barbara. And I felt better. It was like a weight was lifted from me. So I guess that's the pivotal point.
Now, let me ask you something. You said you felt like a weight was lifted from you. At that point, when you first started the organization, was your husband still incarcerated?
Oh, yeah.
Because you had told me, tell me about what you experienced when he came out. You told me a really wonderful, insightful thing about when he first went away, what the judge said to you.
Okay, be happy to say that, because I think it's important that people realize this. My husband had psychiatric problems, as noted by the crime he committed. Certainly, that was indicative. And I had tried to get him to seek help beforehand. He had been to a psychiatrist, and we had a lot of marital insanity going on even before the event, everything that led up to it. But when he was incarcerated, when he went to trial, or he didn't, he was supposed to go to trial, but he pled guilty at the very last minute to save us of having to go through a trial. But I said through my attorney to the judge, he's going away. He's going to be coming home one day. He's coming home to the community, and he's coming home to me first. And I'm frightened. And the judge sent word out through my attorney that my prayers are answered, because my husband is going to get the help that he needs while he's in prison. Surprise! I believed it. I really thought, oh my goodness, he's going to get help. Well, that never happened. That is the last place that will give you any kind of help in working on your issues. Nobody ever asked him in the time he was there, why did you do it? What made you do it? What led up to it? So that was one of the shockers. Many more came throughout his incarceration, but
that's really, really, that's disturbing.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think it really exists still today.
Oh, I think it exists even more so today, even more so.
What have you been seeing, 40 years later? What are some of the plights that you see most, occurring in the prison system?
There hasn't been a change in the culture of the prison system. It's still violent, and it's violence on the side of both the inmates and the correction officers. But many, many people are going to prison who have mental problems, who are deficient in some way. And they closed the mental hospitals during the time since my husband was incarcerated. So the prisons have become your new institutions, your new psychiatric. I couldn't think of the word. That happens a lot. The new psychiatric institutions. And so people are going into prison who can't cope, who can't deal, And when they get there, they're non-compliant because they're ill, and they get punished for their non-compliance. They're put into what they call the SHU, special housing units, which we knew as the box. If you used to watch the James Cagney movies, you go into the box, the being solitary confinement.
Yes.
But they're put in there for not being compliant, and they stay there sometimes for years. They're in there for years, and they certainly aren't going to get better. They're going to get a lot worse. And that's one of the big problems we have. We're working on that issue, with other organizations.
So what's the focus of your organization? Where are you
Okay.
located and what's the focus?
Okay, we have an office that was donated to us through a law firm, Saracen Attorneys. And it's in Comac, 350 Veterans Highway in Comac, New York. We have support group meetings in Deer Park twice a month and in Westbury once a month.
I think you're blocking your mic. Okay, go ahead.
And the focus really is on the support group. We're trying to help families negotiate the system to deal with the emotional upheaval that they're going through. They are very concerned about the person who's incarcerated. Very often it's their son or daughter. We have women, of course, incarcerated too, more now than ever before. You asked about the changes. That's one of the big changes. Women are holding their own in the criminal justice system, unfortunately. But our main focus is on helping them negotiate the system, the families. And in order to do that, we have to network with every single criminal justice agency out there. I'm on 2 reentry task forces. We work with, right now, the Labor Department is trying to we are putting together a job fair only for formerly incarcerated people. And the employers will know that everyone there is formerly incarcerated. We work with youth. We're starting a program now with youth at risk. We hope to get them on all ends, while they're young, and keep them out of the prison to the school to prison pipeline, and work with them with Touro law students.
So let me ask you, what would you say is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned about working with what you got, working with what you've been dealt with?
Okay. First of all, I had to accept. I had to accept the things that I could not change. I could either let it get to me or I could do something about it. And I made the decision that there had to be a reason for this to happen. And the reason was to help other people. That it was really my salvation, because whatever I was feeling, it leaves you. You get relief when you're reaching out to somebody else. There's nothing greater than reaching out to somebody else.
Excellent.
And that became my passion, my goal in life. And so whatever I was going through at home, it kind of took the back burner as to the people I was working with.
Now, you mentioned that you had daughters. How did you preserve them? First of all, how are your daughters today?
They're doing wonderfully. I'm very, very proud of my daughters. They're 2 wonderful adults. My older daughter is a retired New York Police Department sergeant. She's retired. And my other daughter is working, has 2 wonderful children. They're just doing so great. I am very, very proud of them.
How did you do it?
I had wonderful parents.
Okay.
Who helped me a great deal. But I think when all this happened, I knew that my daughters had to have strength. I let them know that it's okay to have the feelings you have. I was very, very honest with them. I never lied to them. I tried to, I sent them to therapy, immediately. My husband was an alcoholic. My daughters went to Alatat, which is even before Alateen. And I cried with them. And I shared, I let them know, it's okay. We feel this way. And I think that the experience bonded my daughters and myself so much more than most people could imagine. I think that we became best friends, closer.
because of your transparency.
Yes, and I do believe that children have to be told the truth. You know, we do deal with families who hide the fact that they have someone incarcerated, not only from their children, from their parents, their sisters, their brothers, and they tell the children that, and their family that daddy is away at school, he's working upstate, and I don't believe in that. I believe that children have to know the truth, that people have to know the truth. Someone we love did something. First of all, is something that the person did. It's not who they are. And,
Excellent point.
and people feel so guilty when somebody they love goes into, commits a crime or does something that society looks down at. But we didn't do it. Someone we love made a mistake. And that's a very important lesson, I think, for those of us doing our time on the outside. By the way, I don't know if you could see this, but it's our logo. It's a heart
Okay.
behind bars.
Wow.
And that's how we feel.
Wow. That's awesome. So tell me something. What are the future goals of your organization? And what are your needs now at this day and time? After 40 years, what do you need?
I hate to say it, but we need money.
No,
I really hate
I mean,
to
that's
say it, but
true.
we
True.
really we have very, very, very little funding. We kind of exist through the generosity of our own families who have people incarcerated and
Okay.
friends. And we have an office. We need people. We need people to help us. There's so much work to be done out there if we're going to make a difference. I mean, I could go on forever talking about the problems of the incarcerated, and that affects their families. So we have to advocate for our families. We have to have people who can go to court and stand next to somebody, even if you don't understand the legalese. You can hold somebody's hand and be a second pair of ears. And it's very difficult to do that when all the people who volunteer for us and care about us are our own families who are going through their own traumas.
Okay, so maybe at the end, what we can do is we can make sure your information is available.
Okay.
And anybody that's interested in volunteering, another thing you mentioned money. So maybe we have some grant writers
Okay.
because you are a not-for-profit organization,
Yes.
and they'll be so wonderful. We know the money exists, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a people person. I'm now in the office because we have no one to cover our office, which, as I said, was offered to us at no cost, and we're very grateful for that. But you need to have people there, and I do a lot of speaking engagements. One of the things I think is very important is to let people know what's going on in the criminal justice system, how our tax dollars are being spent. So I'll go out and I'll speak to colleges. I speak to organizations, civic groups, anyone who listened to us, and I'm here very gratefully, and I thank you for that opportunity.
No, thank you so much. You have no idea how much you inspired me. Thank you, and you have a lot of feistiness still in you. I see it. You see it. You're pretty passionate.
I am very
Yeah,
passionate
but
about
that's
my
wonderful.
my husband's been dead now 15 years, so I really do not have a vested interest in what goes on, except for my families. They're the most wonderful, caring people, and I think that this will be my mission forever and ever.
Excellent. Thank you so much,
Thank
Miss
you.
Allen.
Thank you so
Bless
much
you.
for
Thank
having
you for
me.
coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this break.
Hi, welcome to Working with What You Got's Rant of the Week, where I will rant about various things that concern me. So let's get into it. Why don't guys take girls out on dates anymore? No, I mean seriously, why don't guys take girls out on dates? I don't understand it. What's with the, oh, can I come over and chill text? No, you can't come over. No, I don't want you to come over and eat all my snacks. What you can do is come up with something creative and affordable. And I'm here to give you those suggestions. So, you can go to a nice food truck, get some food for under $20, and then take her to a free, I repeat, free museum. Or you can make a Groupon account, get all sorts of deals and discounts on shows, concerts, movies, there are options. Fellas, take notes. I'm helping you out here. You don't have to break the bank to have a nice night out. And honestly, if you can't spend $20 on a night out, then maybe you don't need to be dating anybody, okay? I'm just saying. And also, young ladies, I think we've made ourselves too available, too accessible to these men, and they don't respect us, they don't value us or our time, and they don't take us out. It's ridiculous. Nobody wants to invest, they don't want to work, and it has to stop. And another thing that really bothers me is I'm tired of these celebrity magazines or relationship articles telling women the numerous ways that they should change themselves to appease men. No, ladies, work with what you got. You don't have to change yourself. You don't have to think like a man. How about they think like us for a change? With Valentine's Day soon approaching, don't ask her if you can come over and chill. Take her out. On a much more important note, I would like to talk about Georgie Porgy, aka George Zimmerman. George, how dare you try to capitalize off of the murder of Trayvon Martin? You have some nerve. Georgie Porgy, sit down. We don't want to see you. We don't want to hear from you. You committed murder. You are a criminal. Just because you got off scot-free doesn't mean that you are a free man. And another thing, George, I don't want to see you trying to sell any of those paintings online. I know you didn't paint them, George. I know you didn't paint them. So go back into hiding. Wherever you are, we don't want to see you. Thank you for listening to my rant. See you next time.
Woo! That was Rant with Mooks.
Thank you, Mooks. You're welcome.
All right. We have with us Timothy Aiken of Aiken Services of Florence. I am so excited to have him here. He has a wonderful, wonderful story of triumph, how he was able to work with what he got. He went from not having a job to starting a very, very successful transportation service in Florence, South Carolina. Please help me welcome Mr. Timothy Aiken. Hi. Hi, Tim.
Hi. How you doing?
All right, we have Tim with us via Skype. Tim, why don't you tell our audiences about your life before you started your business?
Well, I was the youngest of 6 children. We were born in Brooklyn, New York, but my dad died at a very young age. He died at 42, and at the time I was only 9 years old. My mother then decided that she would move back to South Carolina where she was born. So that makes me pretty much a product of I'd say a single parent home. However, my mother did an extremely good job in raising us. She taught me at a young age the value of money. She taught me the value of just simple common sense, a basic education. And she also taught me to work hard for what I wanted and not to wait for someone to give me anything. I say most importantly, what she taught me was how to learn about God and gave me a great relationship with God.
Okay.
Then after, of course, graduating high school, I went directly to the workforce. I got married at 21. I was a father at 22. And it seemed like everything was just going fine. But all of a sudden, I started to develop this identity crisis. As the youngest of 6, I was either Sandy's brother, Charlie's little brother, Boo's little brother. I was always someone's little brother. And I was just sick and tired of being someone's little brother. I wanted to be known for me, who I was. I was a grown man. I was, had my own responsibilities, and I wanted to be known, as such. So that's where the turn went for the bad, I'd say. I started making bad decisions. I went out of my way to show people that I was a man, that nobody could, tell me what to do. Then the partying and the womanizing came. And shortly after that, an 18-year prison sentence came because I got involved in things that just were simply not right. I just sort of went against my upbringing. I did 4.5 years of those 18 years. I was locked up in February of 1992, and I was incarcerated until August 1996. I got a divorce, while I was locked up. And then when I came home with 10 years of parole. Glad to say, though, I successfully completed those 10 years of parole. And I remarried in 1999. And my wife and I, we, joined our families together. And we had 6 kids together. 2 of those kids are still at home.
So, what would you say was the pivotal moment, when you came out of jail that really helped to change your life into a new direction?
Sad to say, the first pivotal moment was actually getting incarcerated. I had done so much in my life, ripping and running and partying and doing different things, that I dealt with people in a not a very good way, but yet I managed to keep myself so busy that I really didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to face it until being locked up. Being locked up, I found myself with nobody in a cell but me and my thoughts. And at that time, I had a chance to realize and think about how I had dealt with people, especially women. I also realized that now is the time I need to change my life, because the direction I'm going would not be very beneficial for me. So, while I was in there, when you get in trouble, you go back to God. And that was because nobody else could help me. So, I made a promise that if I got a second chance, that I would try to, do better with my decisions, and try to serve him a little better. Another thing I promised myself, that if I got another chance to meet a good woman, that I would treat her a whole lot better. I would treat her like a woman deserves to be treated.
Okay, so what is your business? When did you start it? And what are the services that you provide?
The name of my business, of course, as you mentioned, is the Aiken Services of Florence. We're located in Florence, South Carolina, and it is a non-emergency medical transportation business. In other words, we're responsible for taking people back and forth to schedule doctor visits. We do a lot of dialysis. We do a lot of standing orders, where we have to pick people up from their homes, take them to the doctor. When they're finished, they call us back, and of course, we take them home.
Now, from what I understand, when we spoke earlier, that business was birthed out of what happened?
Pardon me, I didn't hear you.
I said, we had a conversation before, and that business, what was it birthed out of?
Well, initially, I started as a volunteer driver. Now, don't get it wrong, it's volunteer driver, but yet you receive pay, but it's not very much pay. What I was receiving was actually gas reimbursement. I would leave home sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would not return home until 9 p.m. Now, for those of you who haven't done the math yet, that's about 18 hours a day. I did that for 9 months, and it was really exhausting. But I managed to do it. I managed to build up a really good reputation, and based on that reputation that I built up and the need, then I was actually able to obtain a contract as a company. That's when I started Aiken Services for Florence.
Wow, how long have you been in business, Tim?
I received my contract in December 2010. I started with just me, with one unit or one vehicle, and like I said, I worked that job. That was December 2010. Today, I now have 12 non-emergency medical transport units and 6 taxi cabs.
Wow.
I don't work out of home anymore. I have an office. We have 4 people in the office, and we have 19 people out on the road doing transportation. And
That's
I might
awesome.
add that I don't work 18 hours a day anymore.
You better go ahead, Mr. Aiken. Wow, I am proud of you. That's awesome. That's excellent. I love hearing that. Now tell me, what would you say is one of the biggest lessons that you could share with our audience about working with what you got?
Well, first of all, I'm the sole proprietor of my business. I own it 100%. And even better than that, Renee, my business is debt free. Every vehicle I own, every piece of equipment is paid for. And how did I do it? Well, I didn't borrow money because my credit wasn't good enough. I couldn't borrow any money. I didn't have a financial backer or a solid partner. And I guess you say I had money saved up. No, I didn't have that either. What I had was hustle. Terry, I'm from Brooklyn. I had hustle, and hustle was spelled with all capital letters. But along with that hustle, I had potential. See, a lot of times when we look at what we have or we're trying to figure out what we got, we look for something monetarily or something physical. But that's not the case. Sometimes we have to look deep within, and we have to find our principles. We have to find motivation. When I was on the onset, when I told you about my childhood, I told you about a few things that my mother gave me. She gave me a value of money. So when I started doing this business and I started making money, I knew the value of money, so I didn't splurge. I saved it. The basic education, the common sense that she taught me, I used that to grow my business. And lastly, when it came to, she, told me about God. So, I tried to do things the right way. So when all those things came together, then, it made for success.
Awesome. That is excellent. We have to take a break, Tim, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, we're back with Timothy Aiken of Aiken Services of Florence. He has a non-emergency medical transportation service. Tim, if you can just tell our viewers how they can get in contact with you and just your website, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we have a very generic website. It's Aiken Services LLC.com. You can go there and you can email us or get our email information from there. But we don't really use that site a whole lot. I pretty much got it for email addresses and whatnot.
Okay, well, excellent. Well, we'll make sure that if you visit us on the web at www.burningbushfamily.com, we'll have all the resource information on how you can reach Aiken Services and also our prior guest, Barbara Allen. Again, thank you so much, Tim, for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Renee. And one last thought. And I wanted to mention that when it comes to what you got,
yes,
there is no substitution for God. There's no substitution for potential. There's no substitution for dedication and hard work. And there's no substitution for a good woman.
Right. Yay for the good woman. All right. Thank you so much for being a good man.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay. Well, hopefully you have enjoyed our first episode of Working with What You Got. And before we leave, I thought about something I wanted to leave you with. I remember about 16 years ago, I was going to get my tire fixed. I had my son, who was probably about a year old, in the back seat in the car. And I had my daughter, who was about 7 at the time, and she was in the front seat. And we were not in a really good location of town because I was trying to get a cheap tire. That's the bottom line. And we were parked in a not good neighborhood, waiting for the tire place. And my daughter looked at me and she says, "Mommy, what's a fragrance hut?" Because we were parked in front of this store that said Fragrance Hut. And I looked at it and I said, "I don't know. Milani's probably a decoy for something else. It's probably something else. It's probably not even a fragrance hut because I don't know what a fragrance hut is." No sooner did I say that, a van pulled up in front of my vehicle in broad daylight. Another SWAT van pulled up in the back of my vehicle. All of the SWAT team jumped out on the street, surrounded my vehicle, surrounded the people on the street. They jumped out with their German Shepherds. They jumped out with their machine guns. And they had everybody pinned down on the ground with machine guns to their heads. And I'm sitting there in the car and I'm shaking. I'm shaking because I have a 1.5-year-old son in the back seat and I have a 7-year-old sitting in the passenger seat. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? And a man walks over to my car. He has his SWAT artillery on and he walks over and he says, roll down your window. And he has his machine gun down and he says, give me your hand. And I look and I give him my hand. He said, my name is John, la 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 la. I don't know what his last name was. I remember his name was John because both my father and my brother's name is John. And he said, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, aren't you? And I said, yes. He said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop traffic. And when I stop traffic for you, you're going to step on that gas and you're going to go as far away from here as you can. And it was a big, heavy intersection, and he stopped the traffic. And he didn't have to say a word. I pressed on that gas, and I sped out of there. I left as fast as I could. And I went over to the church that I used to go to. It was in the daylight, and I went to the office staff, and I was telling them what occurred. And as I told them what occurred, one of the pastors there, I remember her very well. She said, her name is Pastor Gail Brown. I said, Pastor Gail, why did that happen? Why did I go in the middle of this horrible thing? What's going on? Why did that happen? What did I do wrong? All I wanted to do was fix my tire. And she was busy doing her office work, and she said, I don't know, Renee. Maybe it was just God's way of showing you that no matter what goes on or happens, he's always going to make a way for you. He's always going to make a way. Well, let me tell you something. What ended up happening was the Fragrance Hut was housing a big drug lord. And all of these government agencies had been staking out that site, and he was there. So I drove into the midst of a drug bust. Somebody that doesn't even smoke a cigarette or even drink wine coolers anymore. And I came in the midst of that. Well, let me tell you something. I always remember that incident. And I always remember what she said. When I don't have enough, or when I think I'm not able, or I think I'm not capable, I remember that God will always provide a way for you. You always can know that you are not on the point of deficit. You have more than you think you have. So don't you ever, ever, ever forget that. You are able to work with what you got. Free your mind and the rest will follow. Hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for joining.